Today, we're talking the future of enterprise communications, AI, hybrid strategy, and the frontline workforce with Luiz Domingos, who's the Chief Technology Officer at Mitel. We'll explore Mitel's latest innovations, including Mitel Edge and Mitel WX, where AI is delivering real enterprise value, why hybrid strategy still matters more than you might think, and the growing focus on frontline workers, ecosystem integration, and where Mitel sees the future of enterprise communications heading. Hello, and welcome to Enterprise Matters, our enterprise technology series focused on innovations and strategies shaping how businesses communicate, collaborate, and serve their customers. I'm your host, Shelly Kramer, Principal Analyst at Kramer&Co, and I'm excited to once again be joined by my friend, Luiz Domingos, Chief Technology Officer at Mitel, and we've got a lot of ground to cover. Welcome, Luiz.
Hi, Shelly. I'm very excited to be here. Thanks for having me again.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Well, Mitel is one of those companies with a long track record in enterprise communications, and the team has been on a serious innovation run. Luiz is at the center of that, and he's helping shape how Mitel thinks about AI and hybrid deployments and frontline workers and really what enterprise communications really needs to look like for the next decade. I'm looking forward to digging in. Luiz, are you ready?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
All right, let's go for it. Okay, well, let's start with what's new from Mitel, Luiz. You recently announced the Mitel Edge and Mitel WX. For listeners who haven't yet had a chance to dig into these details yet, can you walk us through what these innovations actually do and what they mean specifically for customers in industries that have unusual or demanding operational requirements?
Absolutely, Shelly. And at Mitel, we are evolving enterprise communication for organizations, as you mentioned, that cannot compromise on reliability, control, security, or operational continuity. So at Enterprise Connect, we launched two new products, two new solutions in our portfolio. I'm very glad to talk about them. The first one is Mitel Edge. Mitel Edge is our offering, is our solution that we bring to modernize communication infrastructure without forcing a cloud migration or cloud-only migration. So what we observe today is that many customers are at that corner where they invested in communication solutions a long time ago. They have all dedicated hardware, on-premise solutions, and they are now determining what's the next step.
Right.
And many times the guidance is go to the cloud. And we see that not as a mandatory requirement, correct? And Mitel Edge is bringing that. First, our products and all our platforms and applications today are containerized, and we modernize the architecture through the years, and we can deploy them in any infrastructure. And be that traditional on-premises has been in the past very successful, but also deploying that in private clouds, dedicated infrastructures, secure cloud environments, or hybrid infrastructures.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, what we're trying to address here is certain verticals that have unique demands for data protection and also for real-time execution. If you take a few examples, healthcare and government. So each one has their own demands and the expectations that AI and innovation across communications brings that real time, brings that privacy and data protection that they expect. So Mitel Edge comes to address that specifically, and we have that launched and looking to bring those capabilities to our customers and work flexibly in their demands. And in addition, we bring AI at the edge as part of the solution. So customers will have the option not only to deliver communications at the edge, but also to bring AI together with it.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot happening at the edge these days, for sure. And that is only going to increase exponentially.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so that was one of the announcements. The second announcement was Mitel WX, which stands for Workforce Experience.
Okay.
Mitel WX for us is the next generation of experience, the next generation experience layer. And it's a brand new design of product. And we see that as the evolution of UC. Unified communications becomes workforce experience. The reason is that most of the UC solutions up to now have been more focused on certain types of users. So WX addresses solutions for frontline workers, mobile workers. So it's not only for the more traditional knowledge workers that we've been focused upon. And it has single role aware user experience in it. We have communications embedded into workflows, which is also another component of Mitel WX. And it provides a platform for flexible applications. So in other words, we can quickly bring applications into the market for vertical use cases, for hospitals, for governments, for more standard functions like receptionist functions or attendant functionality. All of that can be spun off out of a common platform for workforce experience. And one last remark is that we are also using WX to unify the experiences of unified communications UC and contact center. So that's what we're trying to bring together. So at the end of the day, it's not only another collaboration application. So it is more than that. It's an infrastructure for applications, and that's how we see UC evolving into WX.
Yeah, very much so. So what is it, Luis, that you see that makes these innovations distinctly Mitel versus what a competitor might bring to the same customer?
Yes, we offer our strategy, and actually our key hypothesis is that customers don't want to just take what we offer them. They want us to offer something that aligns to their needs, correct?
Sure.
So flexibility that we provide is very unique. We have our strategy with hybrid that we discussed before, correct? So we are not pushing customers purely into the cloud. We have hybrid solutions today, and Edge is an element of that. So with hybrid and Edge, we give the customers the flexibility they're looking for. And so many vendors don't have that capability. So we are there saying, well, what is your business case? What is your need? If you think about government, for example, governments is all about control and protection of their data, right? So I think you need to go to a government customer and offer them the flexibility they need in order to do the deployments. So that's one element of focus. The other element of focus is about the workforce experience, because we are not just here providing horizontal solutions, right? It's not only about collaboration and conferencing. We offer dedicated, tailored solutions to the customers, be them in any specific vertical market. So if you think about hospitals, we bring the solutions that automate and create the hands-off capabilities for a nurse, for a doctor, correct? So mission critical at the end of the day is an environment where you need solutions that are very tailored and is not moving people or forcing people in front of a screen where they need to really navigate through screens, etc. So we want communication solutions that bring flexible workflows and at the same time attend the needs for frontline workers.
You know, the way that I always think about this in terms of the overall Mitel value prop is that you and your team are incredibly passionate about meeting customers where they are. And in this age of, everything has to be in the cloud and, you're behind the times if you're in the cloud. Well, the reality of it is in many businesses, and, I was thinking as you were talking about government, government is a sector where a lot of times they are not using the latest, greatest technology innovations. And, there are real budget concerns that are driving decisions and things like that. And so I think that it's really important, and I think it's really attractive to me from the outside looking in, that your philosophy is, we meet you where you are. We work with you to figure out what your communications and business challenges are, and then we'll bring solutions to the table that fit your needs today, but also solutions that are designed to help you as you grow and scale and have that flexibility to change as your needs change. And I think that's really an important part of the value prop.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about something new and different and something that nobody ever talks about today, Luis, AI.
Oh, that's surprising. Okay.
So So of course none of that is true, because that is all that we're talking about. And AI is the word of the moment in every enterprise technology discussion these days. But we're at a point, I think, where the hype cycle is starting to give way, thankfully, to a more honest accounting of where value is actually materializing. So from your vantage point at Mitel, you're in the weeds all day, every day, working alongside your customers. Where are you seeing genuine, measurable value from AI in communications and collaboration today?
Yeah, it's a very good question. And I agree with you. So the market is moving from hype into operational AI.
Yeah,
They realize, so customers now are, okay, they are tired of pilots. They want to see return of investment. They want to see business efficiency and productivity across the adoption. For communications, we look at it from a few angles. So certainly there is the customer experience front. And for customer experience, certainly we, and many vendors, ourselves included, we have all the solutions that address handling meetings, handling customer interactions, contact center capabilities, knowledge retrieval, intelligent routing, real-time assistance, so workflow automation. All of that, I think, is part of our solution today. And that's certainly the one that opened the doors for AI adoption, because with contact centers, you can have the proof points to showcase that, yes, this is bringing immediate return of investment, customer satisfactions, all of that comes along with that. Now, that is an important area, and we'll continue to evolve that. But beyond that, where else we see the need and value of AI to improve the business? Our philosophy is that we don't see AI as human replacement. We see that as human augmentation, and that's how we play with our solutions. So AI should reduce work, not create more dashboards. I expect to see practical AI in reality and creating a trust governance framework around it. So enterprises really have the ability to deploy it without fear or without risk to their day-to-day. So the way we see differentiation here, and I think that's probably one element that we want to discuss, not only addressing what the customer needs for sure, but also bringing some differentiation elements. So having hybrid AI in the choice is very important. So it's part of our AI strategy today. So we don't want customers to get into a vendor lock-in. So that's why we have Edge AI as part of our solution. But we also have hybrid, where we can use cloud, or we can use other AI capabilities. But we want to have a language model agnosticism across the board. And that's what we've been doing with our AI solutions. So with Edge and AI vendor independence, I think customers have the choice. Choice is very important, part of our philosophy as well. So, and at the same time, that gives them control of the data and how the data is consumed by AI. I think that's one important element. The second element is to bring AI for the workforces, correct? So ensuring that we have AI solutions customized for frontline workers, for mission critical workers. As I said before, they don't want to be looking in front of a screen. AI gives them the ability, or brings the solutions whereby they simply get notifications, alarms, and they just act and interact with communications when needed, instead of having the more traditional front end of it. So I think that's another point of benefit that I see is differentiating at the end of the day. And so those are a few areas where we are looking at and bringing capabilities to our portfolio. At the end of the day, I still believe there's a few benefits that AI bring, particularly in communications. First, I see voice in the Renaissance mode, where we bring voice into the day-to-day of communications and as the primary user interface for AI. And also bringing edge capabilities and giving the customers solution for latency issues and at the same time data protection. That's how I see AI influencing our industry in high level. But in general, I think there's a lot of opportunities to explore, and customers really want to see the real value, not just pilots and pilots and pilots.
Not just the hype. That's right. That's right. So, Luis, you touched on this a moment ago, but I'd love for you to maybe walk me through how Mitel ensures that AI adoption doesn't introduce new risks. And I think that, to me, being able to sort of jump on the AI bandwagon and get some things deployed and to really go on that path, that journey to discovering value. One thing that is critically important is trust, right? And so thus the importance of governance.
Sure.
So how do we make sure that this AI adoption journey that we're on doesn't introduce new risks, data privacy concerns? How do we address those hallucinations in customer facing context, those sorts of things? How do you ensure that your customers can move forward feeling that they can be what they're doing is trustworthy?
Yeah. Well, I think first and foremost, you must ensure that you have clarity on what you're bringing to them from an AI perspective.
Yeah.
So we don't want to be just aggregating AI capabilities through our solution. What we've been doing, actually, we have our AI services platform, which is the AI platform that provides all the services for Mitel's products. So all our products use the same base. And that's the base that we want to ensure is well protected and regulated as far as the adoption, starting from the connections, from the multimodality of it, into the choice and deployment models for the language models, the connections, the connectors they bring for API connectivities with MCP servers, as well as with the agentic features. So we've been through time and also in communications, we've been very keen to security. Knock on wood, we don't see data breaches or anything with Mitel products, despite the very large solutions we have out there. So we're bringing that security framework to AI, and at the same time ensuring that we address compliance from the get-go, from the platform, from the AI services platform. So a few things we're doing is to ensure the designs are aligned to security and compliance, but as well how we validate it.
Right.
The AI world it's not a static solution where you develop a product, test it, and deploy. So it's a constant updates because the models are evolving. The customer data infrastructure is unique. So it's a constant monitoring. So service is an important element of that to ensure that what you deploy is constantly monitored for customer satisfaction, for model behavior, and to avoid hallucinations and a bias in the models. So all of that is part of how we support our customers. So we're not just giving them a product, we're giving them a framework. We're giving them a solution with the product as well as capabilities around it to ensure that they deliver constantly, and any environment will deliver the capabilities and the functionality without risk to the customer. So it is not a one-off, it's basically a continuous exercise together with the customer to ensure that the operations of the AI solutions we give them are safe and reliable.
I think that's what everybody's looking for, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I want to shift now and talk a little bit, Luis, about hybrid strategy and the frontline workforce. And, I touched on this just a few moments ago, but one of the things that I've been consistent about in my work as an analyst covering the tech sector is that, everything to the cloud was always going to be a more complicated story than the cloud first narrative suggested. And I think we're very much seeing that play out these days. Enterprises navigating hybrid environments, some workloads on-prem, some in the cloud, some at the edge, they're not doing it because they're behind or they're laggards in any way. They're doing it because their operational reality demands it. Why is hybrid such a critical strategy, and how should we think about it in 2026 and beyond?
Yes. Yeah, if you track back a few years, correct? Pandemic after pandemic,
Yeah.
there was that view that everything should go to the cloud.
Yeah.
Because in the cloud, you're immune to problems, correct? You're immune to liability issues, you're immune to anything. And in reality today, we see cloud solutions fail. People get without stay with communications for a day, sometimes longer. So it is not the solution for the reliability and trust that you want to have in the network. And many customers, I would say large enterprises for sure, and complex industries, did not adopt that view. because they realize their infrastructure is more complex, and such a migration will be extremely time consuming and expensive. And
Right.
realize you don't need that. As long as your applications uh, are open enough, so you can integrate and interoperate with any solutions, wherever they are. So situation today is that if you look at these companies, their communications infrastructure is still, two-thirds of them are still hybrid or a combination of premise and cloud,
Right.
taking the best of both worlds. So in my view, hybrid is not just a transitional state, as many vendors promote. It is a final destination, because
Right.
that's what gives the companies, the enterprises, more protection to their infrastructure, and give them the ability to do what's right wherever they are. If they need some workloads that are more sensitive to the enterprise, they keep them on premise or on the edge. If it's something that is public domain, you can go to the cloud. So I think that's what they're looking for. In addition, hybrid brings you that reliability that you don't have in some cloud solutions today. So you can have redundancy pairs between cloud and premise, or you can have redundancy pairs only on the edge. So you have that opportunity to play with your reliability of your network
Right.
without depending on the cloud, depending on the connections, on the bandwidth, etc. So I think our position is that we remain committed to hybrid, and we see that the market confirms that hybrid is not a compromise. It's just operational reality, correct?
Right.
And I believe that's what led to it. If you look behind some enterprises, you're going to see mission critical workloads, correct? So would you migrate your whole 911 operations to the cloud today? One example, correct? So regulatory. So there is some regulatory and compliance that you have to adhere to.
Right.
So are you going to be subject to a downtime in your infrastructure, into a functionality, and also customer satisfaction at the end of the day, because that's what customers care, correct? So do you have uptime? Do you have reliability? Do you have latency involved? So you want to have protection. So, and hybrid gives certainly the customers the choice, control, and resilience only all in one solution. I think
Right.
that's our proposition.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. So tell me this, Luis, when a customer comes to you and says, I've been looking at hybrid solutions, we've got on-prem deployments. Um, walk me through what does the conversation look like that you have with that customer? What does a well-architected hybrid communications environment actually look like today? And are there spots where a hybrid strategy can occasionally go wrong?
Yeah, it's a good question, Shelly. I don't think it can go wrong, but you need to understand what is the dosage, correct? How much you give the patient of cloud, how much you give the patient of edge hybrid, edge premise, to
Right.
get the best solution to their business requirements. I believe that's the starting point. So how you adjust that. Now, the conversation is, first and foremost, you need to understand the customer current reality and what they're trying to solve, correct? So
Right.
many customers come to us, and we have a very large installed base of customers today. They always looking to modernize their communication solutions. Normally, that's the ask, correct? So we have an existing infrastructure. We want to modernize, we want to make it more capable, bring in new workflows, bring in integrations using AI. So those are the main reasons they come to us. And our initial assessment is to see what is the infrastructure you have, what are the applications, where they are deployed today. And we come with solutions that either shift some of them into new infrastructures, or applications that they already acquired from Mitel can easily migrate and be deployed in any infrastructure. So, and at the same time, we determine what can we do into new workflows, because today is about workflow, correct? So they're going to have scenarios of integrations, but you need a workflow with the dynamics and flexibility that the customer requires. So we created our applications with APIs and open interfacing, so we can interoperate today and have integrations certified with some of the vendors of communication and conferencing applications.
Yeah.
So we can create an ecosystem that is hybrid, not only from deployment, but also from the vendor perspective. So we can integrate in both landscapes. And today is very common, correct? The customer already has a preference for conferencing and
Right.
collaboration, and they have Mitel's infrastructure for communications. So that integration is natural, and we have that available today. So that can be done in any time. And at the end of the day, we architecture the solution with proposals to customer, what they keep, what they evolve, and which levels of integration we need to prepare and present to them as
Right.
part of the overall solution. And I think at the end of the day, they are satisfied with the fact that we looked at all the aspects of resilience, workforce management, and the benefits that they have, and ultimately as well giving them a very appealing, attractive solution from a cost perspective.
Well, you're not treating it as a one size fits all solution. It truly is tailored to your specific organization and your unique needs and that sort of thing. And I think that makes that incredibly valuable.
Absolutely.
So let's connect this to the frontline workforce movement. So we know that a lot of enterprise technology conversation in comms and collaboration over the last decade has been very knowledge worker centric.
Mm-hmm.
The frontline workforce, manufacturing floors, retail environments, healthcare settings, field service teams has often been maybe a bit of an afterthought, and that is absolutely changing. Why, Luis, has the frontline become such a focal point, and what does that shift mean for how communications platforms need to be designed?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think we had to give more priority to knowledge workers given pandemic impacts and
Sure.
everything else, correct? But as a consequence of that, perhaps frontline workers have been underserved, right? So the enterprise communication and collaboration solutions have not thought of them all the time, and today they are forced to adapt horizontal solutions into frontline vertical specific needs. I
Right.
think that's the situation. Many times that leads to shadow AI, right? So they find their little application somewhere, yeah, that fits their need, but that's not what enterprises want. Enterprises have something that is across the board that works for the key employees, for all the employees. So I think that's the how we got here. And at the end of the day, I don't think frontline workers they need another app. They actually need communications embedded into the work they do. So
Yeah.
not just an app that somebody will tell this is a good app for you. So and workflows is another component of the story because it's not only about solutions and capabilities, they need the flexibility, correct? So they are facing customers, they need hands-off operation, they need the capabilities of immediate reaction, correct? So alerts and notifications. So it's hard to see applications and communications that address that. And this is where we are trying to solve it with Mitel. So WX certainly provides the infrastructure for that, for
Right.
quickly spin off workflows and applications for frontline workers. And at the same time, they will have the freedom to operate and adopt those applications. If you think about frontline workers in mission critical hospitals, retail, if you think about mobile workers that are on the go somewhere, as frontline. So all of them have unique needs. And I believe that became more evident since we addressed all the needs of knowledge workers, not all, but a lot of needs for knowledge workers. We realized, wow, these guys, they are lagging behind. And that's
Right.
why it became more important and more visible. And when we had the dialogue with customers, they're always thinking about these users now. 3-4 years ago, we were thinking about, well, can I work from home? And now the question is, can my frontline workers take the most of the communication solutions you have? So that's the contrast. And I think, as I said, so alerts, notifications, real-time coordination, and embedded workflows is
Yeah.
certainly what these users need, and that's what we're bringing to our products.
Well, and I think that to me, when I think about this, Luis, I think about it's really all about user experiences. It's about employee experiences, and it's about end customer experiences. And an example, when you're spending your Saturday doing some kind of a gardening project or a home improvement project, and you need a certain piece of equipment, and so you go online and you find that your local XYZ hardware store has this in stock, and you go to the store and you look everywhere and you can't find it, and you're so frustrated and you just really want to get this job done, and you run across an employee, a frontline worker, and you want them to be that. We're finding that customers have an expectation when it comes to solutions. And my expectation when I'm in that hardware store, when I'm in the middle of a project, is I want that frontline worker to be able to instantly access inventory and to be able to tell me where it is. And oh, by the way, if that was wrong on the website and we don't have it in this store, we've got it in this store that's just 5 minutes away, those sorts of things. Or healthcare situations, obviously, if I'm a patient, I want the most hands-on, most expeditious care. And when that can be happening because those frontline healthcare workers have all of the information about me that they need at their fingertips so they can serve up that best experience and, in the meantime, also keep me alive. Like, those are, to me, the way that I think about it. It's really about experiences, and it is about how employees are navigating the work that they have to do and how they're serving and meeting customer expectations and demands.
Exactly. And the communication applications that we give them has to enable that, correct? So the real-time coordination and the information that is readily available in their hands. So I think that's what they're looking for. That's what customers want to have in their experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit, Luis, about ecosystems. So one of the clear patterns that I'm tracking across enterprise technology is that standalone platforms are losing ground to integrated ecosystems. Communications is no exception. Customers want their UC platform talking to their CRM and to their workforce management system and their ticketing and IT service management tools. How important do you see the ecosystem question to Mitel strategy, and how are you thinking, Luis, about interoperability and integration?
Yes, when we talk about that, to me, I think communications has to be embedded into workflows, because communication has moved from standalone applications into business process orchestrations. So people simply don't want to switch applications to communicate. They want everything integrated. And I think that's what we need to provide them. We've been through a world of APIs, correct? So we've been doing APIs for life. But APIs have always been difficult to operate and perform in the field. And because each customer has a different demand, there's a different angle of the integration they need to deploy. And what I sense is that what customers really need, they don't need more APIs. They need workflows. They need the flexibility to handle through their scenarios, through their usage scenarios. Certainly, you still need to have the interfaces, the open capabilities to connect to a CRM, an ERP system for service management, help desk, etc. But that's expected from the products. But you need to put that in the context of a workflow with the proper steps that drive, because then communications become event-driven. It's not just a one-off. It's not transactional. It's a complex set of interactions that create the end-to-end solution.
Right.
With AI, we have the capabilities now with the MCP connectivity to have access to data in any infrastructure. And that integration is not only about a point integration, but an open integration into various products. If you implement that right, you can have a lot of information available to satisfy the customer workflow use case. We implemented a few of them in our new product called Workflow Studio that allows you to create the communications integrated with AI, with data analysis, and bringing the information and the integration to the customers as a consequence of that. So if you think about next step into agentic, imagine a workflow with the flexibility you need with agentic capabilities. That's what customers are looking for. But I fully agree with you. So integrations are crucial for the outcomes of the business. Right. And what we need to provide is that interaction that capability and the flexibility the customers need. Otherwise, it becomes a one type of integration, and then you have it's dysfunctional from an application and experience perspective. So you want to have multiple of them structured into a workflow at the end of the day.
Some of how I think about this is that, the very best communications platforms are becoming operating layers for businesses. They're not just voice and video tools. They're literally an operational layer within the business. And I think we're seeing that evolve at a pretty rapid pace.
I fully agree.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of rapid pace, I know, Luis, you work with customers across a wide range of industries and geographies. From where you're sitting, where are you seeing the fastest pace of transformation in how enterprises are approaching communications and collaboration? Are you seeing, what I'm looking for here are, are there certain industries that are a little bit further along than others? Are there geographic markets where adoption patterns are notably different? What's happening out there?
Yes, we see a few industries for sure a little ahead and in adoption and solutioning of AI capabilities and innovation with AI. So if you think about hospitality, so operations of big chains of hotels, they are adopting a lot of communications with AI capabilities embedded. So we have some solutions already deployed. Retail, how you bring the hands-off capabilities for agents with workflows with AI. So that's very important. And we see some sectors that are a little behind. Healthcare has been catching up fast. So I was at HIMSS in March. So it's amazing the amount of innovation and AI that's being brought to their communication solutions.
Yeah.
But yeah, we see public sector, certainly one of the laggards, correct? So when you think about government and government institutions and states, counties, so they certainly want to adopt, but there is a concern about control, about governance, etc. So I believe there is certainly use cases, and more interestingly in healthcare, patient support, remote consultation. There's a series of use cases, and actually patient support after discharge when they're at home with IoT integration. That becomes a fantastic new area to really bring communication and instrumentation or remote monitoring of the patient situation. That sounds like an interesting area. When I look at regional, is very diverse. If you think about North America, certainly we see significant AI acceleration, strong focus on customer experience. And when you go to Europe, then we get into sovereignty requirements, compliance, data privacy, and also geopolitics plays into it. Now, Europeans are now looking for solutions that are fully contained within Europe,
right?
And with European vendors sometimes. So it's hard to see how this whole global interactions will occur in the future. But there's the expectation that you cannot trust certain vendors and certain countries not anymore, and therefore you prefer to have something that you have full control upon. That's what they've been asking for. But as I said, so regionally, I think there's the difference between non-regulated markets, where you're basically trying to solve the problems, versus regulated markets, where you're trying to protect the customers, the enterprises, and the business.
Right.
But yeah, those are interesting developments. In general, I think there's a broader trend. I see for sure everywhere we go, people are looking for operational agility. That's certainly a priority. And at the end of the day, organizations that are moving fastest are the ones that are treating communications as a strategic organizational platform, and at the same time are seeing the return of their investment, and basically either into productivity elements or experience overall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. So, Luis, let's talk now a little bit about differentiation in the AI era. So, I think one of the most interesting challenges facing established enterprise technology vendors today is how to define a compelling narrative in the AI era without sounding like everybody else. We're putting AI into everything is not a differentiated message. How do you think about Mitel's differentiation, and what's the honest case for why a customer should use Mitel over the alternatives?
Yeah. It's always important to have a clarity on where you see yourself differentiating. So as I said, our strategy for hybrid is what drives everything we do at Mitel,
Right.
because that's what we believe truly, and that's how we see the market going towards. And the key points we're bringing to customers as differentiators are: first, we are a company that has cared about non-disruptive approaches for communication, and we don't want to transform with disruption. Therefore, we're bringing them the choice, the options, and the flexibility. We're bringing them data sovereignty. We have a Mitel Secure Cloud solution that gives them the protection and the control of the deployment infrastructure. We are adhering to privacy requirements. We adhere to regulatory compliance heavily, be that country specific or industry specific. So all of that is something that we want to ensure the customers have, and we're bringing to them. We also have our AI governance framework, and we have now AI platform that gives them the protection and the commonality. We are not bringing yet AI fully automated. We always want to have human oversight, and human in the loop is something that we believe is necessary now. But our key points surround edge, surround workforce experience, surround protection of the customer data, and human augmentation. I think those are key points we bring. Certainly, behind those points, we're bringing proposals, solutions, and portfolio. But those are the key points, and that's the three main elements of our philosophy around AI.
I like it. So, Luis, looking out a few years, how do you think enterprise communications is going to evolve? Not an incremental product roadmap stuff. I'm interested in the bigger structural shifts. What does enterprise comms look like in 2028 or 2030? And what does that mean for how organizations should be thinking about their strategy and the investments they make today?
Yeah. So yeah, it's a good question. Actually, we just came back from our annual partner event here in US, and I did a crystal ball exercise in the event, just trying to predict. Right? Maybe it's hard to predict too far off, but let's say 2-3 years down the road, where communications will go, where we're going to be as a communications vendor, which kind of solutions customer wants, and some of what we see today are temporary solutions, but I believe there's a few ones that will remain and will continue to evolve. First, AI becomes basically embedded in the communications workflow. So AI becomes invisible at the end of the day because it's fully embedded. So in communications, you're going to have assistants everywhere, not only for horizontal use cases, but also for vertical industry use cases. So that's something that I believe will continue to happen. We continue to evolve in that direction. We're actually moving from unified communications or communications in general. Today, we evolved into systems of assistance. For sure, we're going to be in a few years into systems of action, which means agentic will be an element of workflow management and integration across enterprises. Correct? So if I attend a call in contact centers today, and the agent has to write a ticket in the service tool they use, or write a ticket in their tool. In the future, that will be done through an integration, through a workflow integration for the agent. So certainly it will be embedded, but will be present, but will not be in the front end of it, but it's going to be an amazing supporting tool. Another prediction I made is that voice becomes the preferred user interface for all communications. So I think it's certainly back, and it's more natural, correct, richer type of communication. And I believe that's going to drive communications of the future, not only for the interactions of humans, but also interactions with AI. So why we need a complex user interface of an application if you can simply talk to your AI agent and get things done? I believe that will be a massive factor of value for frontline workers particularly. So, and just a few others that I don't want to bore you with too many, but I also talked about real-time decision-making. So we're going to use innovation AI to have real-time decision routing, decision-making, integrations, workflows I mentioned. And the last one is that the deployments will certainly be hybrid. And Edge will be a key player in various markets and industries because it will bring the control and the trust that many customers out there are looking for.
I love it. Well, my last question, Luis, was really about what to watch from Mitel. But in reality, to a certain extent, you did just answer that in terms of you're looking to your crystal ball at the partner meeting. So let me say this. What should customers and industry observers have on their radar when it comes to Mitel over the course of the next 12 months? Are there any little tidbits of information you can share with us, or anything exciting happening on the partner front, or just anything that we should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And there's a lot happening, right?
Yeah.
So with what we produce in our portfolio today with our innovation, I think workflows will be centerpiece of this. So we continue to evolve our workflow management tools and our AI platform to bring action-based agents. So for agentic, so that's going to be more visible in the portfolio with our workflow solutions.
Right.
Workforce experience is coming in a few months, officially out of the door, and a series of additional add-ons to it. So that will bring the experience for frontline workers. For frontline workers, that will be an exponentiation of the capabilities we bring to them, and the deployments in the edge with dedicated language models, with edge delivered language models. In some cases, open source language models we've been working on to give the customers full control of the data inference and the data deployment. And as far as integrations, so we have several vendors we work with. So some of them are creating some of the integrations and the solutions we need as part of the increment of our solutions. So we're going to have some additional partnerships that will deliver capabilities, and we're going to announce them. So I believe, and ultimately, last but not least, our contact center continues to evolve. Our contact center solution is really the one that drove all the innovation that we're bringing to the portfolio. So it was the first one to adopt many of the technologies in AI. So we continue to evolve there. So we have a strong program to have more capabilities around AI, more around quality experience, compliance, and capabilities that really demonstrate how the contact center delivers not only speed of call resolution, but also customer satisfaction at the end of the day. So it's a lot going on. So we are working very hard in several fronts, but customers should see us bringing more capabilities to address their day-to-day. And at the end of the day, our objective at Mitel is helping our customers modernize at their own pace and without having to compromise reliability, security, and operational continuity. So that's our motto, and that's how we bring solutions, modernization without disruption.
I think that's fantastic. And so, in short, there's a lot to be excited about looking ahead.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, that is a wrap for this episode of Experience Matters. A sincere thank you to Mitel's CTO, Luiz Domingos, for joining me today. This was a genuinely substantive conversation about where enterprise comms is heading and what the AI era actually means for organizations navigating real operational complexity. Thanks, Luiz, for joining me so much. And I look forward to these conversations all the time. And to our viewing and listening audience, I'm Shelly Kramer, Principal Analyst at Kramer&Co. Thank you for tuning into Experience Matters. We'll see you here next time.